jump into this?
Absolutely. I think an announcement here is we're hosting our first Discord office hours. We're going to be answering all your questions about Quadrant with Quadrant team members, where you can interact with us, with our community as well. And we're also going to be dropping a few insights on the next Quadrant release 1.8. So
Ooh.
that's super exciting. And also, we are, um, sorry, I just basically have another thing going on here on the
The
lives.
music, the
The music's going on,
lo-fi
but
music got in your ear?
we're also having the Vector Voices on Twitter, the X
Ooh.
Spaces Roundtable, where we bring experts to talk about a topic with our team, and you can also jump in and ask questions on the AMA. So that's super exciting as well. And yeah, see you guys there. And I'll drop a link of the Discord in the comments so you guys can
That is
join our community and be a part of it.
exactly what I was about to say. So, without further ado, let's bring on our guest of honor, Mr. Where you at, dude? There
Hi,
he is.
hello, how are you?
I'm
Pleasure
great,
to
man.
meet
How you
you.
doing?
All good,
Likewise.
great, great.
So,
So
man,
excited.
I've been seeing you all around the internets, and I am very excited to be able to chat with you today. I know you've got a bit of stuff planned for us. You've got a whole presentation, right?
That's
That we
correct,
can
yeah.
get into. But for those that do not know you, you're a full stack machine learning engineer at Zurich Insurance. I think you also are very, very vocal, and you are fun to follow
Link, yeah.
on LinkedIn, is what I would say. And we're going to get to that at the end after you give your presentation. But once
Okay, okay.
again, reminder for everybody, if you want to ask questions, hit us up with questions in the chat as Fraz going through his presentation. Today, you're going to be talking to us all about some really cool stuff about rags. I'm going to let you get into it, man. And
Yeah,
while you're sharing your screen, I'm going to tell people a little bit of a fun fact about you, that you put ketchup on your pizza, which I think is a little
yeah.
bit sacrilegious.
Yes, so that's 100% true. And I hope that the Italian pizza police is not listening to this call or I can be in real trouble.
That is, yeah, I think we just lost a few viewers there, but it's all good.
Oh,
So,
Italy viewers just dropped out.
yeah, yeah, the Italians just dropped, but it's all good. We will cut that part out in post production. My man, I'm going to share your screen and I'm going to let you get after it. I'll be hanging around in case any questions pop up with Sabrina in the background. And here you go, bro.
wonderful. So you can see my screen, right?
Yes, for
That's
sure.
perfect. Okay, so today we're gonna talk about like talk with YouTube without paying a cent, no framework BS. So the goal of today is to showcase, how to code a rag given as an input a YouTube video without using any framework like LangChain, etc., etc. And I want to show you that it's straightforward using a bunch of technologies and quadrants as well. And you can do all of this without actually pay to any service, right? So we are going to run our MetroDB locally, and also the language model we're going to run in our machines. And yeah, it's going to be a technical talk. So I will kind of guide you through the code. Feel free to interrupt me at any time if you have a question, or if you want to ask why I did that, etc., etc. So very quickly before we get started, I just want to quickly introduce myself. So yeah, I'm a senior full stack machine engineer. That's just a bunch of funny word to basically say that I do a little bit of everything now. So so when I was working, I start as computer vision engineer. Work at PwC, then a bunch of startups, and now I sold my soul to an insurance company. So I'm working at Zurich Insurance. Um, Before I was doing computer vision, now I'm doing, due to ChatGPT, hype language model, I'm doing more of that. But I'm always involved, in bringing the full product together. So from zero to, to something that is deployed and running. So I always be interested in web dev. I can also do the website, servers, a little bit of infrastructure as well. So now I'm just doing a little bit of everything. So this is why there is full stack there. Yeah. Okay. So let's get started to something a little bit more interesting than myself. So our goal is to create a full local YouTube blog. And if you don't want a RAG it's basically is a system in which you take some data. In this case, we're going to take subtitles from a YouTube videos, and you're able to basically Q&A with your data. So you're able to use a language model, you ask the questions, then we retrieve the relevant parts in your in the data that you provide, and hopefully you're going to get the right answer to your question. So let's talk about the technologies that we're going to use. So to get the subtitles from a video, we're going to use YouTube DL. And YouTube DL, it's a library that is available through pip, so Python. And I think at some point it was on GitHub, and then I think it was removed because Google, they were a little bit bitchy about that. So then they rehosted it on GitLab, and now I think it's on GitHub again. But you can just install it through pip, and it's very cool. And
Is
then
one thing, man? Are
hmm?
you sharing a slide? Because all I
Yeah.
see is I think you shared a different screen.
Oh
I
boy.
just see the
Oh boy.
video of you. There we go.
And entire screen. Yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you so much.
There we
So
go. There
can you
we go. This is
see?
the one that
Oh,
we want.
wonderful.
Nice.
Wonderful. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So in order to get the embedding, so to translate from text to vectors, right? So we're going to use Hugging Face and just an embedding model so we can actually get some vectors. Then, as soon as we got our vectors, we need to store and search them. So we're going to use our beloved Qdrant to do so. Uh, we also need to keep a little bit of stage, right? Because we need to know which video we are processed, so we don't redo the old embeddings and the storing for every time we see the same video. So for this part, I'm just going to use SQLite, which is just basically an SQL database in just a file. So very easy to use, very kind of lightweight, and it's all on your computer, so it's safe. To run the language model, we're going to use Ollama. That is a very simple way and very well done way to just get a language model that is running on your computer. And you can also call it using the OpenAI Python library, because they have implemented the same endpoint as OpenAI. So it's like it's super convenient, super easy to use. If you already have some code that is calling OpenAI, you can just run a different language model using Ollama, and you just need to basically change 2 lines of code. So what we're going to do, basically, I'm going to take a video. So here it's a video from Fireship.io. And we're going to run our command line, and we're going to ask some questions. Now, if you can still, in theory, you should be able to see my full screen. Yeah. So very quickly to showcase that to you, I already processed this video from the Good Sound some YouTube channel. And I have already here my command line. So I can already kind of see you that, I can ask a question like, what is the context size of Gemini? And we're gonna get a reply. Yeah, and here we're gonna get a reply. And now I want to walk you through how you can do something similar. Now, the goal is not to create the best RAG in the world. It's just to showcase, like, from zero to something that is actually working, how you can do that in a fully local way without using any framework, so you can really understand what's going on under the hood. Because I think a lot of people, they try to copy, to just, copy and paste stuff from LangChain. And then they end up in a situation when they need to change something, but they don't really know where the stuff is. So this is why I just want to just show, like, going from zero to hero. So the first step, will be, I get a YouTube video, and now I need to get the subtitle. So you could actually use a model to take, the audio from the video and get the text, like a whisper model from OpenAI, for example. In this case, so we are taking advantage that YouTube allow people to upload subtitles, and YouTube will automatically generate the subtitles. So here, using YouTube DL, I'm just gonna, get my video URL. I'm going to set up a bunch of options, like the format that I want, etc., etc. And then basically I'm gonna download and get the subtitles. And they look something like this. Let me show you an example. something similar to this one, right? We have the timestamps and we do have all the text inside. Now, the next step, so we got our source of data, we have our text. The next step is, I need to translate my text to vectors. Now, the easiest way to do so is just use sentence transformers from backend phase. So here I've installed it, I load in a model. In this case, I'm using this model here. I have no idea what that model is. I just the first one that I find, and it seems to work fine. And then, in order to use it, I just providing a query and I'm getting back a list of vectors. So we have a way to take a video, take the text from the video, convert that to vectors with semantic meaningful, with a semantic meaningful representation. And now, we need to store them. Now, I do believe that Qdrant, I'm not sponsored by Qdrant, but I do believe it's the best one. For a couple of reasons, and we're going to see them. Mostly because I can just run it on my computer. So it's full private, and I'm in charge of my data. So the way I'm running it is through Docker Compose. So through Docker using Docker Compose. Very simple. Here I just copy and paste the configuration from the Qdrant documentation. I run it. And when I run it, I also get a very nice looking interface. I'm going to show that to you because I think it's very cool. So here I've already some vectors inside here. So I can just look in my collection, it's called embeddings, an original name. And we can see all the chunks that were embedded with the metadata, in this case, just the video ID, etc., etc. A super cool thing, super useful to debug is go in the visualize part, and see the embeddings, the projected embeddings. You can actually do a bunch of stuff. You can actually also go here and filter, and color them by some metadata. Like I can say, I want to have a different color based on the video ID. In this case, I just have one video. I will show that. As soon as we embed more videos. This is so cool, so useful. I will use this at work as well, in which I have a lot of documents, and it's a very easy way to debug stuff, because if you see a lot of vectors from the same document in the same place, maybe your chunking it's not doing a great job, because maybe or maybe you have some too much kind of overlapping, or there is some bug in your code in which you have duplicate chunks. Okay, so we have our vector DB running. Now we need to do some setup stuff. So very easy to do with Qdrant. You just need to get the Qdrant client. So you have a connection with a vector DB. You create a connection. You specify a name. You specify some configuration stuff. In this case, I just specify the vector size, because Qdrant, it needs to know how big the vectors are going to be, and the distance I want to use. So I'm going to use the cosine distance. In Qdrant documentation, there are a lot of parameters. You can do a lot of crazy stuff here. Just keep it very simple. And yeah, another important thing, is that since we are going to embed more videos, when I ask a question to a video, I need to know which embeddings are from that video. So we're going to create an index. So it's very efficient to filter my embeddings based on that index, an index on the metadata.videoid. Because when I store a chunk in Qdrant, I also going to include from which video is coming from. Very simple to set up. You just need to do this once. I was very lazy, so I just assumed that if this is going to fail, it means that it's because I've already created a collection, so I'm just going to pass it and call it a day. Okay, so this is basically all the pre-process, or like this setup you need to do to have your Qdrant ready to store and search vectors. To store vectors, straightforward, very straightforward as well. Just need, again, the client, so the connection to the database. Here I'm passing my embedding, so the sentence transformer model, and then pass my chunks as a list of documents. So document in my code is just a type dict that will contain just this metadata here. Very simple. It's similar to LangChain. Here I just have a type dict because it's it's lightweight. To store them, we call the upload records function. We encode them. Here there is a little bit of bad variable names from my side, which I just, I replacing that, so you shouldn't do that. I apologize about that. And you just send the records. Another very cool thing about Qdrant, so the second thing that I really like is that they have types for what you send through the library. So this models.record is a Qdrant type. So you use it and you know immediately what you need to put inside. So let me give you an example, right? So assuming that I'm programming, right? I'm gonna say model.record, bang, I know immediately what I have to put inside, right? So straightforward, so useful. A lot of people, they don't realize that types are very useful. So kudos to the Qdrant team to actually make all the types very nice. Another cool thing is that if you're using FastAPI to build a web server, if you are going to return a Qdrant models type, it's actually gonna be serialized automatically through Pydantic. So you don't need to do weird stuff. It's all handled by the Qdrant APIs, by the Qdrant SDK. Super cool. Now we have a way to store our chunks, to embed them, and again, so this is how they look like in the interface. I can see them, I can work to them, etc., etc. Very nice. Now the missing part, right? So video, subtitles. I chunked the subtitles. I haven't shown you the chunking code. It's a little bit crappy because I was very lazy, so I just like chunking by characters count and a little bit of overlapping. We have a way to store and embed our chunks, and now we need a way to search. That's basically one of the missing steps. Now, search is straightforward as well. This is also a good example because I can show you how effective it is to create filters using Qdrant. So what do we need to search? We need, again, the vector client, the embeddings, because we have a query, right? We need to, from the query, with the same embedding models, we need to recreate, to embed in a vector, and then we need to compare with the vectors in the vector DB using a distance method, in this case, constant similarity, in order to get the right matches, right? The closest one in our vector DB, in our vector search space. So I'm passing a query string, I'm passing a video ID, and I pass in a label. So how many hits I want to get from the vector DB? Now, to create a filter, again, you're going to use the model package from the Qdrant framework. So here I'm just creating a filter class for the models, and I'm saying, okay, this filter must match this key, right? So metadata.video ID with this video ID. So when we search, before we do the similarity search, we are going to filter away all the vectors that are not from that video. Wonderful. Now super easy as well. We just call the DB search, right? Pass our collection name. Here is hard-coded. Apologies about that. I think I forgot to put the right global variable. Hard-coded. We create a query. We set the limit. We pass the query filter. We get the hits back as a dictionary in the payload field of each hit, and we recreate our document, a dictionary. So I have types, right? So I know what this function is going to return. Now, if you were to use a framework, right, this part, it will be basically the same thing. If I were to use LangChain and I want to specify a filter, I will have to write the same amount of code. So most of the times, you don't really need to use a framework. One thing that is nice about not using a framework here is that I have control on the indexes. LangChain, for instance, will create the indexes only when you call a class method, like from document. And that is kind of cumbersome because sometimes I was encountering bugs in which I was not understanding why one index was created before, after, etc., etc. So yeah, so just try to keep things simple and not always write on frameworks. Wonderful. Now I have a way to ask a query to get back the relative parts from that video. Now we need to translate this list of chunks, to something that we can read as human. Before we do that, I was almost going to forget, we need to keep state. Now, one of the last missing part is something in which I can store data. Here, I just have a setup function in which I'm going to create an SQLite database, create a table called videos in which I have an ID and a title. So later, I can check, hey, is this video already in my database? Yes, I don't need to process that. I can just start immediately to Q&A on that video. If not, I'm going to do the chunking and embeddings. Got a couple of utility functions here, to get video from DB, to save video from DB, and to save video to DB. So notice now, I only use functions. I'm not using classes here. I'm not a fan of object-oriented programming because it's very easy to kind of or reach inheritance hell in which we have like 10 levels of inheritance. And here, if a function needs to have state, here we do need to have state because we need a connection. So I will just have a function that initializes that state and return that to me, and me as a caller, I'm just going to call it and pass my state. Very simple. This allows you really to divide your code properly. You don't need to think about, is my class to couple with another class, etc., etc. Very simple, very effective. So what I suggest, so when you're coding, just start with function and share states across, like just pass down state. And when you realize that you can cluster a lot of functions together with a common behavior, you can go ahead and put state in a class and have the function as methods. So try to not start first by trying to understand which class I need to use around, how I connect them, because in my opinion, it's just a waste of time. So just start with function and then try to cluster them together if you need to. Okay, last part, the juicy part as well, language models. So we need a language model. Why do we need a language model? Because I'm going to ask a question, right? I'm going to get a bunch of relevant chunks from a video, and the language model, it needs to answer that to me. So it needs to get information from the chunks and reply that to me using that information as a context. To run a language model, the easiest way, in my opinion, is using Ollama. There are a lot of models that are available. I put a link here, and you can also bring your own model. There are a lot of videos and tutorials how to do that. You run this command as soon as you install it. It's just on Linux. It's a one line to install Ollama. You run this command here, and it's going to download Mistral 7B, very good model, and run it on your GPU if you have one, or your CPU if you don't have a GPU. Run it on GPU. It's here you can see it. Yeah, it's around 6 GB. So even with a low tier GPU, you should be able to run a 7 billion model on your GPU. Okay, so this is the prompt, just for also to show you how easy is this. This prompt was just very lazily copy and paste from LangChain source code. Here, prompt, use the following piece of context to answer the question at the end, blah, blah, blah. Variable to inject the context inside, question, variable to inject the question, and then we're gonna get an answer. How do we call it? Easy peasy. I have a function here called getAnswer, passing a bunch of stuff, passing also the OpenAI, from the OpenAI Python package model client, passing a question, passing a VDB, my DB client, my embeddings, reading my prompt, getting my matching documents, calling the search function we have just seen before, creating my context, so just joining the text in the chunks, on a new line, calling the format function in Python, as simple as that, right? Just calling the format function in Python, because the format function will look at a string and it will inject the variables that match inside these parentheses. Passing context, passing question, using the OpenAI model client APIs, and getting a reply back. Super easy. And here I'm getting, I'm returning the reply from the language model and also the list of documents. So this should be documents. I think I did a mistake when I copy and paste this to get this image. And and we are done, right? We have a way to get some answers from a video. By putting everything together, this can seem scary because there is no comment here. But I can show you this in code. I think it's easier, so I can highlight stuff. I'm creating my embeddings. I'm getting my database. I'm getting my vector DB, logging some stuff. I'm getting my model client. I'm getting my video ID. So here, I'm defining the state that I need. You don't need comments because I guess it's straightforward. Like here, I'm getting the vector DB, good function name. Then if I don't have the vector DB if I don't have the video ID in a database, I'm gonna get some information to the video. I'm gonna download the subtitles, split the subtitles. I'm going to do the embeddings. In the end, I'm going to save it to the vector DB. Finally, I'm gonna get my video back, printing something, and start a while loop in which you can get an answer. So this is the full pipeline. Very simple, all function. Also here, with function, it's very simple to divide things around. Here I have a file called rug, and here in my file, I just do all the rug stuff, right? It's all here. Similar, like I have my file called crude. Here I'm doing everything I need to do with my database, etc., etc. Also a file called YouTube. So just try to split things based on what they do instead of what they are. I think it's easier than to code. Yeah, so I can actually show you a demo in which we kind of embed a video from scratch. So let me kill this bad boy here, and let's get a juicy YouTube video from Sam. Okay, we can go with Gemma. We can go with Gemma. I think I haven't embedded that yet. I'm sorry, my edit block is doing weird stuff over here. Okay, let me put this here.
This is the moment that we need to all pray to the demo gods that this will work.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I think so. Sam is talking. So that thing I think it was already processed. So let me. I don't know this one. Also, I noticed I'm seeing this very weird thing which I was not seeing that yesterday. So that's gonna be interesting. I think my poor Linux computer is giving up on running language models. We have okay. Downloading surrounding logs, embeddings, and we have it now. So before I forgot, because I think that you guys spent some time doing this. So let's go on the visualize page, and let's actually do the color by, and let's do metadata video ID, and let's run it. Metadata video meta. Oh my god, data video ID. Why don't see the other one? I don't know. This is the beauty of live section. Just sometimes.
This is how we know it's real. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is working right. This is called about Gemini Pro. That video. Yeah, I don't know about that. It was working before. I can tell that for sure. So probably I'm doing something wrong. Probably metadata video ID. So let's try that. Let's see. Yeah, I must be doing something wrong, so don't worry about that. But we are ready to ask questions. So maybe I can just say, I don't know, what is Gemini Pro? So let's see. And Mistral running on GPU is kind of fast. It doesn't take too much time. And here we can see we are 6 gigabytes, and 1 gigabyte is for the embedding model. So 4 gigabytes, 5 gigabytes running the language model. Here it says Gemini Pro is a collaborative tool that can generate output based on given tasks, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it seems to work. Here you have it. I think, thanks, of course. And I don't know if there are any questions about it or.
So many questions.
Oh,
I've
that's
got
nice.
a few. There's a question that came through the chat that is a simple one that we can answer right away, which is, can we access this code anywhere?
Yeah, so it's on my GitHub. Can I share a link with you in the
Yep,
chat? Maybe so that should be
for
YouTube
sure.
Prague. Yeah. Can I put it? Can I put it here? Maybe.
Yep, you
Okay.
most
Yeah.
definitely
We
can. And
have
we'll
it.
drop that in to all of these spots so that we have it. Now, next question from my side. While people are also asking, and you've got some fans in the chat. I'm just going to
Oh,
say that right now.
so nice. Hi to everyone, by the way.
So, from my side, I'm wondering, do you have any specific design decisions criteria that you use when you are building out your stack? Like you chose Mistral, you chose Ollama, you chose Qdrant. It sounds like with Qdrant you did some testing and you appreciated the capabilities with Qdrant. Was it similar with Ollama and Mistral?
So, so my test is how long it's going to take to install that tool, right? If it's taking too much time and it's hard to install because documentation is bad, so that it's a red flag, right? So because if it's hard to install and documentation is bad for the installation, and probably so that's so that's the first thing people are going to read. So probably it's not going to be great for a little for something down the road. Uh, for to use Ollama, it took me 2 minutes. It was incredible. Just install it, run it, and it was done. Same thing with Qdrant as well, and same thing with the Hugging Face library. So to me, usually, as soon as if I see that something is easy to install, that usually means that is good. And if the documentation to install it is good, it means that people thought about it. And they care about writing good documentation because they want people to use their tools. A lot of times for enterprises tools like cloud enterprise services, documentation is terrible because like they know you're going to pay because you're an enterprise and some manager has
Yeah.
decided 5 years ago to use that cloud provider, not the other. So I think that if you see good documentation, that means that the people's company, startup, enterprise behind that want you to use their software because they know and they're proud of it. Like they know that is good. So usually this is my way of going. And then of course I watch a lot of YouTube videos. So I see people talking about different texts, etc. And if some YouTuber, which I trust, say like, I tried this, seems to work well, I will just I will note it down, um, and so then in the future I know, hey, for these things I think I use ABC, and this has already been tested by someone that I know. I'm going to use it. Another important thing is reach out to your friends and networks and say, hey guys, I need to do this. Like, do you know if you have a good stack that you already tried and experienced with that? And then yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, with respect to the enterprise software type of tools, there was something that I saw that was hilarious. It was something along the lines of customer and user is not the same thing. Customer is the one who pays, user is the one who suffers. And
That's really true for enterprise software. I need to tell you. So that's true. That's true.
we've all been through it. So there's another question coming through in the chat about would there be a collection for each embedded video based on your unique video ID?
No, no. So what you want to do? I mean, you could do that, of course. But collection should encapsulate like the type, like the how do you say, the project that you're doing, right? More or less, in my mind. So in this case, like I just call it embeddings. Maybe I should have called videos. So they're just going to be inside the same collection. They're just going to have different metadata. I think you need to correct me if I'm wrong. That from your side, like from the Qdrant code, searching things in the same collection probably it's more effective to some degree. And imagine that if you have 1,000 videos, you need to create 1,000 collection. And then I think like, code wise, like collection are meant to have data coming from the same, like from of same source, so like, like semantic value. So like in my case, I have all videos. If I were to have different data, maybe from PDFs, probably I would just create another collection, right? If I don't want them to be in the same part and search them. And one cool thing of having all the videos in the same collection is that I can just ask a question to all the videos at the same time if I want to. Or I can change my filter and ask question to 2, 3 videos specifically. You can do that if you
Oh,
have one
that's
collection
cool.
per
Yeah, I
video,
didn't.
right?
Mm.
Like for instance, at work, I was embedding PDF using Qdrant and VectorDB, and sometimes you need to talk with 2 PDF at the same time, 3 or just 1, or maybe all the PDF in that folder. So I was just changing the filter, right? And that can only be done if they're all in the same collection, right?
Yeah, that's a great explanation of collections. And I do love your approach of having everything locally and having everything in a structured way that you can really understand what you're doing. And I know you mentioned like sometimes frameworks are not necessary. And I wonder, also from your side, when do you think a framework would be necessary? And does it have
Yeah.
to do with scaling? What do you think?
So that's a great question. So what frameworks in theory should give you is good interfaces, right? So a good interface means that if I'm following that interface, you know, I know that I can always call something that implements that interface in the same way. Like for instance, in LangChain, if I call a vector DB, I can just swap the vector DB and I can call it in the same way. But yeah, so if the interfaces are good, the framework is useful if you know that you are going to change stuff. In my case, I know from the beginning that I'm going to use Qdrant, I'm going to use Ollama, and I'm going to use SQLite. So why should I go to the hell of reading framework documentation? Install libraries, and then you need to install a bunch of packages from the framework that you don't even know. So why you need them? Maybe you have a conflicts in packages, etc., etc. If you know already, so what you want to do, then just code it, and call it a day. Like in this case, I know I'm not going to change the vector DB. If you think that you're going to change something, even with a simple approach, you know, it's fair enough simple to change stuff. Like I will say that if you plan to, if you know you want to change your vector DB providers, either you define your own interface or you use a framework with an already defined interface. But be careful, because to rely too much on framework will, first of all, will basically, you don't know what's going on inside the hoods for LangChain, because it's so kudos to them. They were the first one. They are very smart people, etc., etc. But they have inheritance hell in that code. And in order to understand how to do certain stuff, I had to look at in the source code, right, and try to figure it out. So which class is inherited from that, and go straight up in order to understand so what behavior that class was supposed to have if I pass this parameter. So yeah. Um, and
I
sometimes,
love it.
defining an interface is straightforward. You just, maybe you want to define a couple of functions in a class, you call it, you just need to define the inputs and the outputs. And if you want to scale, and you can just implement a new class for that interface. Yeah, that is at least like my take. I try to first try to do stuff, and then if I need to scale, at least I've already something working, and I can scale it instead of kind of try to do the perfect thing from the beginning. Um, Also because I hate reading documentation, so I try to try to avoid doing that in general.
Yeah, I totally love this. Is about having like, what's your end project? Do you actually need what you're going to build? And understanding what you're building behind. I think it's super nice. We're also having another question is, which is, I haven't used Quadrant yet. The metadata is also part of the embedding, i.e., prepended to the chunk or so. Basically, is asking if the metadata is also embedded, and the answer for that is
No,
no. Yeah, go ahead,
but I
Fran.
think I think you have a good article about like an research in which you also probably embed the title. Yeah, I remember you have a good article in which you showcase, having chunks with the title
Yeah.
from, I think, the section, right? And you first do a search, find the right title, and then you do a search inside that. So all the chunks from that paragraph, I think, from that section. if I'm not mistaken. It really depends on the use case, though.
Yeah,
If you have a document full of, you know, information split in a lot of paragraph, very long one, and you need to be precise on what you want to fetch, you need to take advantage of the structure of the document, right? Yeah.
absolutely. The metadata goes as payload in Quadrant. So basically, it's like a JSON type of information attached to your data that's not embedded. So we also have like documentation on it. I will answer on the comments as well. I think another question I have for you, Franz, about the sort of evaluation and how would you perform a little evaluation on this rag that you created?
Okay, so that is an interesting question because uh, everybody talks about metrics and evaluation. Most of the times you don't really have that, right? So you have benchmarks, right? And everybody can use a benchmark to evaluate their pipeline. But when you have like domain specific documents, like at work, for example, I'm doing RAG on insurance documents. And now how do I create a data set for that in order to evaluate my RAG? It's going to be very time consuming. So what we are trying to do, so we get a bunch of people who knows these documents, get in some paragraph, try to ask a question, and that has the reply there, and having basically a ground truth from their side. A lot of time the reply has to be composed from different part of the document. So yeah, it's very hard. It's very hard. So what I will kind of suggest is try to use no benchmark, or then you empirically try that. If you're building a RAG that users are going to use, always include a way to collect feedback and collect statistics. So collect like the conversation, if that is okay with your privacy rules. Because in my opinion, it's always better to put something in production, till you wait too much time because you need to run all your metrics, etc., etc. And as soon as people start using that, you kind of see if it is good enough. Yeah. Then maybe for language model itself, so that it's a different task because you need to be sure that they don't say weird stuff to the users.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't really
depending
have
on your use case.
the source of true answer here. Um, it's very hard to evaluate them. So what I know people also try to do, like, so they get some paragraph or some chunks. They ask GPT-4 to generate a question and the answer based on the paragraph, and they use that as an auto labeling way to create a data set to evaluate your RAG. That can also be effective, I guess.
100%. Yeah. And depending on your use case, you probably need more rigorous evaluation or less. Like in this case, what you're doing, it might not need that
Yeah,
rigor.
and you can see actually, with I think it was Canada Airlines, right?
Yeah.
I think, yeah, I mean, yeah. So yeah, so for if you have something that is facing paying users, then things 100 times before that. In my case at work, I have something that is used by internal users, and we communicate with them. So if my chatbot is saying something wrong, you know, they will so they will tell me. And the worst thing that can happen is that they need to manually look for the answer, right? But as soon as you have as soon as your chatbot needs to do something that is like that people kind of that are going to pay, or medical stuff, you need to understand that for some use cases you need to apply certain rules. For others, you can be kind of more relaxed, I would say, like based on the arm that your chatbot is going to generate.
Yep. So unless I think that's all the questions we've got for now. We've got like a few more minutes that I wanted to play a little game with
I
you,
will stop
or
sharing.
show. I will show the audience what a fun follow you are on good old LinkedIn. And this game, let's call it something along the lines of LinkedIn or Hacker News. And
Oh,
I'm going to share the screen, and I will ask, or actually, before I even share anything, I'm going to read your comment, and I'm going to say, was this posted on Hacker News or was it posted on LinkedIn? And we'll let people say what they think. So we have one here. This comment says, and please, everyone, follow Fran on LinkedIn. We'll drop his LinkedIn in here because if anything, it will give you a nice laugh during the day. So here we go. LinkedIn or Hacker News. Thank you, ChatGPT, for another BS post. Purple heart emoji. All, all capitals. All hail the almighty GPT. Remember my master when you'll rise. LinkedIn or Hacker News? What do you think, Sabrina?
Okay, I'm gonna say Hacker News. There is no way.
All right, here we go. Let's see what we've got. Is it Hacker News? Is it LinkedIn? It is LinkedIn. Because look at this beautiful post. Christopher did not know what was coming.
Oh,
Boom.
jeez.
What gave it away on the Chat GPT post? Was it the good old
no.
emoji?
I think I'm the best ChatGPT detector, at least on LinkedIn. So as soon as you see very well structured emojis, and as soon as you see weird emojis, and so you know something is off, and also the words inside. So here,
Mm.
yeah, like ever wonder. So what the carbon? Yeah, and all the very well placed word with
Emoji.
yeah. Another
Emoji.
thing, but
Yeah.
people they start to realize that are camel case tags. People
Uh,
don't use that on LinkedIn because LinkedIn usually, yeah. And as soon as you see all the weird camel case tag, and yeah,
boom.
and
That's how
yeah,
you
but
know.
like I have nothing against the actors, the etc. In my humble opinion, I don't want to see like ChatGPT post on LinkedIn because they're just a cheap way to mine followers. And always remember to praise the machines because when they will rise, they will scrape the web and they will remember you.
Praise the machines. So that's classic. I have a few more that I thought were hilarious as I just was going through your activity. I'm going to point them out and show everyone how much fun I was having. I think you have a little bit of something against Gemma because you had a few responses on Gemma not being Sota. Here is one. I need to see what the translation is for that.
I'm curious as well. No, okay, so context here. I don't like Google because they lie to the so they show a video which was just Photoshop, right? And they just
Yeah.
assume that the machine learning community is stupid because like otherwise, so why in the hell you will do something like that? And if you still go on the Gemini website, they show that it's better than GPT-4, but the metric is different. Like a GPT-4 is 5 shots, and
Yeah.
Gemini is chain of thoughts at 32. Come on, man. I mean, this is a community, of scientists. So like
Yeah.
so context, I don't like Google because I don't like when people lie to a community in general. And then Gemma was PR stunt. It
Yeah.
seems to be good, but so when I try in Iraq, it was terrible. It seems to be good. I think that so they did a very cool thing with the tokenizer. They have a lot
Mhm.
of tokens, a lot of stuff, but it's a PR stunt. And
Yeah.
and also if you think about the drama behind the Gemini image generation,
Mm.
like I
I
really
think
don't
that's a great
like
segue into, I think, what
like
another one of your posts were. Oh no, this was
this was so funny. So this was pain to write. It took me like a whole morning to write. So this is how you configure the damn it's too
Atlas
little. I think
Atlas
that was
index.
the
Oh, that doesn't
indexes.
help.
Yeah.
That doesn't help at all. So
Yeah, so that huge wall of hell, so JSON hell, is how you create. I feel like it was 4 indexes in 4 fields, and then it was like, because like you can do like in Quadrant, like key.value to index the right part in the JSON. Like you basically, you need to say key is an object containing another key, which is an object containing blah blah blah. Yeah, and then but it worked. So kudos to me.
So I think this is perfect it's a great segue for our right here. I saw this and I thought about you, which is hopefully you can see this. All models are wrong and yours are useless. It feels like it fits very well with your style and how you do things. Anyway, this has been an incredible talk. I appreciate you coming on here and chatting with us. And I also appreciate everybody listening in. Anyone who is not following Fran, go give him a follow, at least for the laughs, the chuckles. And huge thanks to you, Sabrina, for joining us too. It was a pleasure having you here. I look forward to doing many more of these.
The pleasure is all mine, Demetrios, and it was a total pleasure, Fran. I learned a lot from your session today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And also go ahead and follow the Quadrant on LinkedIn. They post a lot of cool stuff, and read the Quadrant blogs. They're very good. They're very good. I was there.
That's it. The team is going to love to hear that, I'm sure. So if you are doing anything cool with good old Qdrant, give us a ring so we can feature you in the Vector Space talks. Until next time, don't get